Chapter 7, Mishnah 3. We learned above in chapter 4, Mishnah 3, that the limbs of the Tamid offering had been placed on the ramp of the outer Mizbeach before the Kohanim went to pray. While some of the Kohanim worked inside the Heichal, preparing the menorah and offering the incense, chapter 5, Mishnah 4 through chapter 6, Mishnah 3, other Kohanim would bring these limbs up to the top of the Mizbeach to be burned. The Kohen Gadol could choose to perform any part of the service himself, even without winning the right to do so in a lottery. Our Mishnah describes how the limbs were handled when the Kohen Gadol chose to offer them on the Mizbeach. When the Kohen Gadol wishes to burn the limbs of the Tamid by throwing them onto the fire himself, he would go up the ramp, and the deputy, the Kohen second in command to the Kohen Gadol, walked to his right to escort him. By the time the Kohen Gadol reached the midpoint of the ramp, he was often a little bit tired, so the deputy held his right arm and helped him up the rest of the way. Normally, the Kohanim who won the right to carry the limbs from the ramp to the top of the Mizbeach, chapter 5, Mishnah 2, would bring up the limbs and throw them onto the fire. When the Kohen Gadol was present, however, they would bring him the limbs so that he could throw them. The first Kohen of those bringing up the limbs handed the head and the right back leg of the Tamid offering to the Kohen Gadol, and the Kohen Gadol leaned on them and threw them onto the fire. The second Kohen handed the two front legs to the first Kohen, and then the first Kohen gives them to the Kohen Gadol, because it is a greater honor for the Kohen Gadol to be served by one person instead of having many different Kohanim bring him the limbs separately. The Kohen Gadol leaned on them and threw them onto the fire. The second Kohen then slipped away and went back down the ramp, while the third Kohen came forward with the third set of limbs. As above, he handed these limbs to the first Kohen, who then handed them to the Kohen Gadol. And in this way, they would hand all the remaining limbs to the Kohen Gadol, and he would lean on them and throw them onto the fire. When the Kohen Gadol wishes to help offer the limbs, but not throw them onto the fire, he leans on the limbs, and others throw them onto the fire for him. Although the Mishnah does not mention them here, the fine flour and chavitin loaves, see chapter 4, Mishnah 3, were also thrown onto the fire at this point. The only item remaining to be offered was the wine libation that was poured into a silver bowl at the southwest corner of the Mizbeach's top. The Mishnah begins by describing how the Kohen Gadol, who had been standing at the top of the ramp, reached this part of the Mizbeach. The Kohen Gadol starts to circle around the Mizbeach to get to the southwest corner. From where does he begin? Does he turn to the left and go directly to the southwest corner, or does he turn to the right? He turns to the right and begins circling from the southeast corner, because there is a rule that all turns that you make should be to the right. From the southeast corner, he walks to the northeast corner, then to the northwest corner, and then to the southwest corner. When the Kohen Gadol reached the southwest corner, they gave him the vessel of wine to pour onto the Mizbeach. The Kohanim now prepare for the pouring of the wine. The deputy would stand on the southwest horn of the Mizbeach, and the signal flags were in his hand. And two Kohanim would stand on the table of the fats, and two silver trumpets were in their hands. They sounded a set of 3 sounds: tekiah, 1 long blast; teruah, a series of short blasts; tekiah, 1 long blast, with their trumpets to warn the Levim, who were preparing to sing, that the wine libation was about to take place. After blowing the trumpets, they came down from the table and stood next to Ben Arza, the officer in charge of sounding the cymbal, see below, one to his right and one to his left. The wine libation was accompanied by the song of the Levim. The Mishnah describes the procedure they used to make sure that the song began as soon as the wine was poured. The Kohen Gadol bent down to pour the wine into the bowl. And when the deputy saw that the wine was about to be poured, he waved the signal flags. And when Ben Arza saw the flags, he sounded the cymbal. And when the Levim heard the cymbal, they chanted the song for that day of the week. When the Levim came to the end of a stanza, they paused while the Kohanim sounded a set of 3 sounds: tekiah, teruah, tekiah, with their trumpets, and the people who had gathered in the courtyard bowed down. At the end of every stanza, the Kohanim sounded a set of tekiah, teruah, tekiah. And at every tekiah, teruah, tekiah, there was a bowing down by the people. Each song had 3 stanzas, so altogether the Kohanim sounded the trumpets 9 times, 3 sets of 3 sounds, and the people bowed down 3 times. The Mishnah concludes its description of the Tamid service. This is the order of the Tamid offering for the service of the house of our God. May it be His will that it be rebuilt speedily in our days. Amen.